Hey, it is Kenny from Kenny's Audiophile Record Reviews. Thank you very much for viewing my channel. For those of you new to my channel, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. That noise here above my ceiling fan, I turn that ceiling fan on after I've been using my tube amplifier. It gets warm in this room. That tube amplifier warms this room up pretty well. It's cold. It's nice when it does it during the winter, but during the summer months, as we approach the hotter months, as we're approaching summer, I'm not so sure. I have a balanced Audio-Technica VK60 amplifier. The sucker gets hot when I use it, but it sounds beautiful. But we're starting to approach summer, starting to warm up, a beautiful time of the year. Hope everybody's doing nice worldwide. Hope God is blessing you all. But I'm going to do some quick mentions of some records that I listen to, some recommendations, and one of them is kind of a light recommendation, but yeah, I'm gonna let you see what I've been listening to lately, and we're gonna get into it, some of these jazz records, and one of them is called In a Minor Groove, Dorothy Ashby and Frank Whest. It's on a new, it originally came out in 1958, and this one was reissued on the Real Gone label, reissued label. I'll show you the, and they duplicated the original label, and it's called Real Gone Music, the website, and you know, the website and the company reissued this record. And like I said, I think this originally came out in 1958 with Dorothy Ashby, and I think original copies of this sell on Discogs for, you know, as high as, you know, the $200 to $400 range. But this reissue, a mono reissue, says here taken from the original mono tapes. Taken from the original mono tapes is an unusual way of phrasing it. Usually some of they say remastered from the original analog master tapes or something like that. This says taken from the original mono tapes. Interesting way to phrase it. But this features Dorothy Ashby on harp, the great harp player. She also appeared on Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life, the song called If It's Magic. It's a beautiful song. I believe that's the name of the song. You should check it out. Dorothy Ashby on harp. Frank Whest, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, W-E-S-S on flute, Herman Wright on bass, Roy Haynes drums. And this is a beautiful jazz album that integrates the harp in a traditional jazz setting, and it sounds spectacular. It's a mono record. It really does. I recently, like I said, recently received this, and hearing this these old school jazz grooves on my system. This mono record sounds spectacular. You should definitely check this out. I believe it's on YouTube. You should check it out on YouTube, but it has that old school jazz vibe to it, jazz vibe and groove to it with a harp. It sounds really good. If I were to rate this in terms of sound and performance, I'd give them both solid, you know, 8 to 8.5s. It really sounded great. Now, this was reissued on the Prestige label in the late 60s. And this one was rechanneled, electronically remastered for stereo, it says. It's the exact same record with the exact same song listing. However, I'll show you the song listing on this one, the original first, or I should say the reissue. However, the song listing, although it's identical on the remastered for stereo version, the songs are mixed up. They kind of mix up the songs, and they don't match the song listing on the album. On this electronically remastered for stereo version that was issued by Prestige Records in the late 60s, the songs don't match on the record, don't match a listing on the album, and it's kind of annoying. Now, this remastered, electronically remastered for stereo edition sounds good, but it's not really true stereo. It's almost like mono with a little bit of ambience. it's not like, you know, you hear sounds coming from the right speaker or left speaker and all the way in between. This is almost like mono with ambience to me. I prefer this one, the true mono record, reissue record, over this one that was electronically remastered for stereo. This doesn't sound bad at all. It sounds good. I just prefer the purity of the true mono record, reissue record, I should say. This is the remastered for stereo one is not real stereo. It's like mono with ambience, at least to my ears. Oh, by the way, that's equipment I use is in the description below. You can check out some of my equipment in the description below. This has been out for some time. John Coltrane's Blue Train. And this sounds stunning. Now I have the stereo version and the mono version. I prefer the stereo version. I just love the stereo spread over the mono version. Now that's rare for me for these. I think this came out in 1958. I could be wrong. I believe it did. And for stereo recordings during that era, they really weren't that good at all. You had this strict left and strict right sound. And I really like this particular stereo record. Actually sounds to me better than the mono. Don't get me wrong, the mono version sounds quite good. I like the directness and the purity of the mono sound. But I love the stereo, the ambience of the stereo spread on this record. For example, on the song Blue Train, I believe Coltrane is on near the, at around the left speaker. And I just like that versus this one, the mono, everything's in, you know, around the center of the sound stage. I just like the spread of the stereo. In this particular version, both of these, by the way, were issued on the Tone Poets reissue label. And that was a stereo, and this one is a mono. Now the stereo, for those of you who don't know, is a 2-record set, and it has like alternate takes on the second disc. I'll show you the, hope this coming across on the video. If not, I'm sorry. But the stereo version, the sound is spectacular. The performance, John Coltrane, is spectacular as well. I recommend the stereo of the Tone Poets. Now, I do not have another vinyl source on this record. Previous to purchasing this, I only had it on CD. So I have no vinyl sources to compare to, but I can tell you that the Tone Poets reissue of John Coltrane Blue Train, to me, is spectacular. It really is. And it's a joy to listen to the stereo version of the Tone Poets over the mono. I prefer the stereo version. I bought both out of curiosity, and also at the time I purchased the mono. The mono was on sale real cheap, so I bought both of them. But if I were to, my go-to copy is the stereo version, personally. The Tone Poets stereo version. The next record I'm going to do a CD real quick. This is called Stablemates by the super group called Roots. And it features, you know, a lot of, you know, horns, you know, like sopranos and alto sax. It features like Arthur Blythe on alto sax, soprano sax, Nathan Davis on tenor sax, soprano sax, Idris Muhammad on drums. It's just, they got some heavy hitters on this one. Sam Rivers, Chico Freeman, Nathan Davis, Arthur Blythe, Don Pullman, Santi DiBriano, please forgive me if I mispronounce his name, and Idris Muhammad. This is a CD. I bought this at a thrift store a couple of weeks ago as of the posting of this video. And the sound of this CD is outstanding, and the performance on this CD is outstanding. It was a joy to listen to this one. The song that I would concentrate on, if you want to find this on YouTube, is the song Linden Boulevard. That's a tremendous vibrant, jazz vibrant group to listen to. And also this tribute to, where is it? Eric Dolphy. It's called I Remember Eric Dolphy. That's a fabulous jazz tune that you should definitely check out if you can find this on YouTube, by the super group called Roots, and it's called Stablemates. Like I said, I purchased this for $2 at a thrift store, and gosh, I thoroughly enjoyed this CD. And like I said, the sound for the CD was excellent, in my opinion. The last mention, and this one barely makes my mention list because the sound on this one is different. It's called the Rubaiyat, if I'm pronouncing that name, of Dorothy Ashby. I think it was issued in around 1970, I think. This is a reissue on the manufactured Third Man Press Verb by Request series. And this particular one is for Dorothy Ashby is different. She tried to, I get the impression at this record that it was issued 1970, she tried to modernize her song, her sound. And it says on here that originally composed and inspired by the words of Omar, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Khayyam. It's spelled Khayyam, inspired by his words. And this has a different vibe and groove to it for Dorothy Ashby compared to this record right here. It really does. This one is just an acoustic jazz record with harp. She's playing a coda on harp on this one, and she sings as well. And it has this, at times, funky vibe, vocal sound and groove to it that may not be for everybody. It just simply won't. Check this out on YouTube. You know, it gets the vocal performances at times, and the sound gets kind of like a little bit on the funky side. And like I said, it's I like it, but like I said, it may not be for everyone. Must say that when I was listening to this record, I was more critical of this record, more so than any record I listened to at some time, because I was saying to myself, gosh, it'd be cool if Dorothy Ashby's vocal was in the center and the coda on the harp was maybe a little bit to the left of her. I was criticizing a little bit the mix of this record. I really was, and it could have sounded better if it was mixed a little bit better, in my opinion. And also, overall, the sound could have been better, I think. It came on this paper sleeve, so I had to replace it with these MoFi sleeves that I have handy. That's the original label, I assume. Cassette Records. But the songs I like on here, there's a song called Shadow Shapes. And it starts off like a 1950s old school vocal performance. And initially I had difficulty getting into that vibe and groove. I really was. But then I played it a couple more times. That's one of my favorite songs on the album. I love how it begins and ends, but it took me a while to warm up to that song. And the song Heaven and Hell, if you listen to that song a few times, that's a beautiful song to vibe to, I should say. There's one song on here called, gosh, I forgot the name of the song. It might be the song, I think it's the song Wine. Yeah, Wine is a very beautiful instrumental version, or a performance, I should say, is great, but is spoiled by a vocal intro. The vocal intro on the song Wine, it would have been a better song without the vocal intro. It would have been a great jazz song, but it was kind of marred a little bit by the vocal intro. But like I said, the songs, I'll show you the song listings. The songs, Shadow Shapes and Heaven and Hell, are nice songs to groove to. The song Moving Finger, listen to the song Moving Finger, and you'll realize what I mean by it's a little bit out there and a little bit different for Dorothy Ashby. She was trying to be very ambitious and different, playing a koto. But if I were to rate her, the performance on this record and the sound, I'd give them both 7.5s, and that's being generous, but I still like listening to it because I love Dorothy Ashby. Those are my, and I recommend, you should listen to this before buying it. Because the sound on this, I don't think it was recorded that well. So it doesn't come across at times great on a nice stereo setup. I noticed that some of the sound was a little bit distorted in some areas. It could have been a little bit more clear and more definite and more defined. So this gets a weak recommendation, but I listened to it first before you decide to purchase it. Those are the some of the records I've been listening to lately, and some of my recommendations or semi-recommendations. Thank you very much for viewing my video. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. God bless, strong love, and keep the peace worldwide.